Hi guys, welcome back to Kitchen Colony, and today I'm very excited to share with you this recipe, a recipe that is a favorite especially around Christmas and Thanksgiving in my family. I will be making pineapple glazed turkey, and in this case turkey leg. Now you're not limited to the leg alone. You can use the crown, or you can use a whole turkey, or you may use this a large chicken. This works with anything. It works with any part of the turkey or poultry. Now the way this is seasoned along with the garnish took this turkey to another level. Now if you'd like to see how I prepare this, continue watching. Now guys, last year I prepared my turkey a specific way and it was well received. Now today I'm going to show you what I did last year by demonstrating this with a leg. Now in my bowl I have a turkey leg, a turkey drumstick as we'd call it, and it's a very massive one. And I'm going to show you how I prepare it for roasting for Thanksgiving. Last year I did it with thigh, but you can use a turkey crown or you can use a whole turkey the way I'm using my leg. Now I've already cleaned and pick away all the feathers from my turkey, and I'm going to show you how I clean it and then prepare it for seasoning. Now it is what I have it soaking in some vinegar water and some salt. Now it's time to wash it off, and I'm going to remove some of these tissues or heavy fat that we don't really need, and then start giving it some slices. I've peeled back the skin. Remember, we're not removing the skin, we need it to keep it moist while baking, but I've peeled it back to a point where I still want it to be intact, but I need to do that in order to season underneath the skin. Now we're going to rinse the vinegar and salt from our meat. Okay. Now it's time to dry our meat and get it ready for seasoning. The first thing we're going to do is use the wet seasoning before we use the dry rub. Now that's it. Now remember, turkey is very dense and you have to get the seasoning into the meat in order to have great flavor. So what I'm doing, I'm putting slits underneath, not cutting the flesh above, just putting slits around the bone and into the thick part of the meat so that I can rub some wet seasoning in. I'm going around the bone, notice, so that my finger can get in when I start rubbing the wet seasoning in. Alright, then I'm going to put some slits outside, not too much, not too deep, so that it can also penetrate the meat, yeah? Now for my seasoning, I'm going to use a teaspoon of jerk seasoning, a teaspoon of mustard, and a teaspoon and a half of green seasoning. Then we're going to have a half a teaspoon of ginger, crushed ginger, and crushed garlic. A teaspoon of mixed herbs. And in this bowl we have a teaspoon of Szechuan seasoning, a teaspoon of chicken seasoning, and here we have a mixture of mixed spice. It's an Indian seasoning with roasted herbs like cumin, coriander, basil and stuff crushed. Here we have a teaspoon of garlic granules, a half a teaspoon of black pepper, and a half a teaspoon of paprika. Now remember, you can use whatever seasoning you like or whatever seasoning you have. This is what I have and this is what I'm using. Now we have a half a teaspoon of crushed pimento berries, and we'll be using, and later we'll be using some glazed cherries and pineapple slices, but I'll show you when it's time for us to use it. Now we're going to use our wet seasoning first, and so we're going to mix them all together so that we have one consistent blend. Now we're going to pour it in the cavity. Remember that slit that we've made near the bowl? And we're going to use our finger to massage it in the meat, inside the meat, yeah? And we're going to do that in every slit that we had made. Now we're going to lock in this seasoning by putting back the skin on, so all this goodness stays inside, and the remainder we rub it on the skin. Not too much because we don't want it burn when we start roasting, yeah? Now it's time to add our dry seasoning or a dry rub to our meat, and we are going to mix them together as we did with the wet ones. Now it's time to use our dry rub. Now we're going to pull back the skin as we did with the wet rub, and we're going to rub into the flesh. Now you may ask why I use the wet rub first. It's because the meat absorbs the wet one easier, and also the dry rub will be able to stick to the meat because of the wet rub. Now that we have enough on the inside, let's pull back the skin, and then we're going to season the outside. We don't want too much on the skin because it will burn, but because we're going to put it away to overnight, most of this will dissolve. Now it's time to put away our meat, and I'll be leaving it for overnight, so I'm putting it into a plastic bag to seal in the flavor, so it's spend time to marinate. And I'm going to add another bag to seal in the flavor. Ready for the refrigerator. Now it's the following day and it's time for baking, and I have removed my meat from the refrigerator and let it stand for 20 minutes on the counter. Now these are the things we're going to need for the second part of our baking. 2 tablespoons of sweet chili sauce, a tablespoon of liquid seasoning, some cherries, 2 teaspoons of sugar, pineapple slices, and pineapple juice. Now I've already lined and greased my baking tin, and it's time now to get our meat in the tin and put it to bake for 1 hour. Remember, we had it out for about 20 minutes. We want it to be almost room temperature when we're going to bake it. Now we're going to take it to our tray, our already greased tray. Now that's what we want. We're going to take it to the oven, which is preheated at 180 Celsius or 350 Fahrenheit. We're going to cover our meat with foil so that it seems and cook quickly so it can penetrate without burning. So we're covering it with the foil. Leave it covered to bake for 1 hour. Now while the meat is baking, we're going to mix our liquid for basting. So we're adding our sweet chili mix to our pineapple juice. Now you could use ketchup if you have that. And we're going to add our sugar. Now it's time to add our liquid seasoning, and we're going to mix. Now it's 1 hour past, and we're going to check to see if our meat is doing well. Still running, so it's not yet cooked, so you need to give it another see it's still bloody or water, so we're going to cover it again because we don't want to burn the skin. We want to keep it nice intact. We're going to put it back in for another half an hour, but this time we're going to turn the stove up and we're going to put it at about 200 degrees Celsius. Now it's time to test the meat again, and after sticking it I realized it was still oozing juice, and that tells me it's not yet cooked. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove the foil and adjust my stove to a lower temperature, 150 or 300 Fahrenheit, and then I'm going to allow it to bake. Now if your oven is very small, then you might use 150, but if it's a large oven, you might need to increase the heat. You know your oven, so adjust it accordingly. Give it another half an hour. Now it's 2 hours later, and we're going to check our meat. Okay. Wow. Let us test. No water running. Good. It's cooked. Now it's time to get the garnish on. So I'm going to baste it for a little while and then get it over to the other side to put the garnish on. Now we're going to garnish this and put it back in the oven for about another half an hour because we want that sauce on top, and we want this pineapple to protect the meat and keep it moist. So we're going to garnish, right? And we're using pineapple and a cherry, and the cherry just adds sweetness and the stick holds the pineapple in place. That's all. What we're trying to do is cover most of the meat. We don't want it to dry out, and this protects it. And I need to cover this side. Now we're going to baste our meat with this lovely mix that we did before, and we're going to put it in the oven for another half an hour, but we are going to check this every 5 minutes and baste it again, because what we want is for this to create a kind of sweet, sticky barbecue like crust. So they pour the remainder in the bottom of the pan, and then I'm going to use this liquid while it's in the oven to baste the meat. Alright, to take it to the oven. Now put it in for another half an hour. Now we're going to baste every 5 minutes until our 30 minutes is up. So please check your time. Now it's your final 5 minutes. So we're going to do this. Oh, this is lovely. We don't need to cook it anymore. We're going to baste it and take it out the oven. Let's baste it and take it out the oven. And remember, if you're using the crown, it might take a little longer. If you're using the thigh or a whole turkey, it will take a little longer. Now here we have it, guys. Moist, succulent, well seasoned, cooked to perfection. Guys, this can be used in any occasion. Christmas, Thanksgiving, any celebration. It's not only tasty, it's appealing to the eyes. Now guys, I'd like you to try it. Trust me, you will not regret it. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, please remember to share it, give it a thumbs up. And if you have not yet subscribed, please subscribe. And for all my old subscribers, thank you for coming back faithfully. Now, if you wish, leave me a comment and even a suggestion. I'm looking forward to hearing from you. Now, please remember to click the notification bell so that when I upload a new video, you'll be the first to know. Thank you for watching me. Bye-bye.